This is the Mental Mettle Podcast, and I am your host, Coach Thomann. I'm a former athlete, teacher, coach, and athletic director that switched careers after surviving cancer and a stroke in the fall of 2020. But I'm also a dad of a son and a daughter that were successful high school athletes that went on to college. Now I use that experience along with my ICF coaching certification when helping teams, coaches, and athletes from all over the country. Each week, I will pose a specific question that will help coaches of all types better understand mental toughness. In the Mental Mettle Podcast, coaches will learn to help their athletes overcome adversity without being the adversity they need to overcome. Welcome back, Metalheads. It is Coach Thomann here with the Mental Mettle Podcast, and I am excited to bring you another great episode of one of my favorite things to do, and that's put out this podcast. I really enjoy putting it out there, hearing people talk about it and send me notes about it. Please, I love the messages. I love the comments. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate that and helps it keep it going. It is a free resource. I put this out there at no cost to anybody, and I'm trying to, of course, it gets my name out there and it helps with my business and the mental coaching that I do with athletes and the professional development that I do. Of course, I'm not going to lie about that. That helps. That gives me some credibility in that area. But I put this out here because I have a genuine passion for wanting to help athletes and coaches develop mental toughness in a very healthy way, mentally and physically, and just the right way to do that. And I know through experience that this positive psychology and this coaching is just a great way to do that. It is the toughness that you desire in your athlete without having the long-term effects of such like negative mindsets and things like that. And yes, people do use negative mindsets to help them move forward. We do it all the time. We be our worst enemy. We beat ourselves up. We think that thinking about how bad our situations are, what we've done wrong is the only way to kind of move forward and to motivate ourselves. And it's not the right way to do it. And it causes long-term damage, long-term issues. There's a whole long stuff I can talk about this, and I have talked about this. But my idea and why I do what I do in this podcast is to help get better ideas out there for everyone on how to better develop mental toughness and positive well-being while doing sports that are hard and being in adverse situations, and how the idea that those ideas are not incompatible. They are something you can do at the same time. You have to have the right tools and the right ideas to do that. And that's why I put this podcast out here. So yeah, I love the feedback on this. I want to know that, hey, I love the notes. I love the comments saying, hey, we appreciate it. And, we love what you're doing. And I love just the confirmation that I think, that I'm doing the right thing. And I think I am, and I'm saying the right stuff. And I just appreciate the comments. So while you're listening, if you're listening and you jumped on this from seeing it on Facebook or you see it on any of the social medias, stop, pause, hit a like, make a comment. All right. It really helps. And it helps spread the message and helps the algorithms and all the things. So yeah, pause, go hit a like, share a comment, and do it. Don't say I'll do it after, because you won't. Just do it for me. Appreciate it. Yeah. But anyway, so let's get going on today's episode. Today's episode is the second part of a 3-part series in which I talk exclusively to offensive linemen, the toughest, some of the toughest athletes in the toughest position in the toughest sport in football. So last week I talked to my nephew, 3-star recruit at Olney. He is a great kid. Other than just being my nephew, he's a great kid. He's having a great season. a really great season with the Only Tigers and has had a lot of progress in that, and just getting a lot of offers to go play good high level Division I football. And it's just and I've done some mental coaching with him. So we have a great conversation about all those things last week. If you missed it, go back and check it out. It's a really good episode. Very well-spoken young man, and really says a lot of the things I'm trying to cover and teach here. And he does it, from a different voice, from a kid's perspective. So if you are a parent, listen to this and you're thinking about how this could help my athlete and my kid, go back and listen to that episode. It's a great one. Today's episode with JJ Guedet is another example of a kid I've worked with. I've done some mental coaching with JJ, been a while. He's one of my first clients, and it's a great example, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But then upcoming, so the third episode, which will be next week, I'm talking to Jack Cornell, who is the head coach for Quincy, Notre Dame. He played under Ron Zook at Illini when they had a really good run, and then he went and got a Super Bowl ring with the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm really excited about having that guy on there. And my whole point of talking to these offensive linemen, I talked about this last week, and I'll mention it last week again, is my idea that if we can talk about mental health to some of the biggest, strongest, toughest, bearded linemen out there, and we can talk about mental health and what it means to open up and be aware of your mentality and your emotions, we can do some things to break down some of the stigma about talking to athletes. It is the hardest part of my job, is to get past that stigma and let parents and players know that it's okay to open up and talk about this stuff and how it makes you so much better. It does not make you weaker to talk about this stuff. It makes you so much tougher and so much stronger to be able to know yourself and develop yourself. And that's my goal from this 3-part series, other than just having great conversations with some really great guys, just to help open that idea. And so JJ, and the other thing about JJ is he was not only was one of my early clients, he was on the podcast over a year ago. He was one of my first podcast guests, and it was, so if you really enjoy this, go back and listen to him. It's a different conversation this time than last time. Some of the similar stuff, but it's he's changed in the year and a half or two, or however long it was we've done the podcast. His journey, and that's what we're going to talk a little about. His journey today is he is at a different spot in his journey. He is in his 6th year of college football. So he's on a journey, guys. Like he's been grinding it out for a while, and it's so I'm so proud of him. It's such a commendable thing. He's in such a great spot now. He spent his first 5 years at Minnesota plagued by some injuries and just bad situations, and just, getting overlooked because of the injuries and just different things, because so many things that he couldn't control. And we'll talk about this. It is a big part of the coaching process. And I'm so great that he brought that up about how our focus on our daily focus on how it has to be focused on things that we can control and not things we can't is so important to being able to improve and to grow. And it's something you're going to pick up on this interview, and just, if he hadn't had that, it'd have been more of a struggle than it was for him to get where he is. He's now playing at ISU, having a stellar year, getting some awards, getting a lot of looks, turning some heads on his play at that level, and really excited for the future for him as he finishes up his 6th year, what that's going to mean for him. But just, you're going to pick up some stuff in this interview. I want to talk about it on the backside and bring up some of the stuff that I think is really important. But notice as you listen his growth, just the maturity, how he's grown. I'll mention some of the things we did with the coaching and how it took time for these tools to really sink in. But it's a good thing I think it's a good thing he had those tools in his back pocket and in his mind as he was going through this grind, because it's easy to want to quit when you're grinding through things, and that would have been a shame because he's in such a great spot. So check out the interview with Illinois State Redbird offensive lineman JJ Guedet. No amount of athletic talent or physical ability can overcome a poor mindset. Anxiety, fear, and negativity will always diminish an athlete's abilities and limit their success. If you're not intentionally developing your child's mental toughness, then they are not reaching their full potential. Mental Mettle Coaching provides the individual drills needed to build the positive mindset necessary for success on the court and in life. Contact today to schedule a free coaching session and start building mental toughness in your athlete. Mettle is a person's ability to face adversity in a spirited and resilient manner. It is a great skill to have for athletics and for life, but it is not something we are born with. If you want it, you have to forge your mettle. And if you listen to the Mental Mettle podcast, you already know that, but not everybody else does yet. So help me out by ordering and wearing some sweet The Mental Mettle podcast gear. We've got short sleeve tees, long sleeve tees, and some super comfortable hoodies. Order online today and you can have your gear in no time. But the best part is that every order helps support the show and helps me spread the message that mental toughness is a trait that can and should be built. So find the link in the show notes, order your gear, and start showing that you know how to forge your mettle. We just talked as you were coming on, you're like halfway through your final season of college football, and it's I mean, that's kind of the journey I want to talk. It's been through COVID and through redshirt and injuries and everything like that. It's like you've been in college for a little while now.
Yeah, it's weird. It's been a long time. I remember moving in my first day and thinking, wow, like the seniors here, they're old. I'm the old guy now, so it's weird, but it's nice. I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of bumps and turns, but I've enjoyed all of it.
Yeah. So you are in your 6th year of college right now, which that means you should be pretty smart by now, right?
I mean, I do pretty well. Depends on what we're talking about. I'm sick of the classwork, but other than that, yeah, I do pretty well.
Well, speaking of studies, what are you like? You've got your bachelor degree already, right?
Yep, I finished that in 2021, and then right now I'm just kind of taking classes. I'm not really doing anything for a degree. It's just be eligible so I can play.
Like, hey, it's at some point like you got your degree and you're wanting to do it. So are you learning anything though? Like, did you like just pick a random schedule? Is it like, hey, it's just stuff I want to learn about?
I had to do graduate classes.
Okay.
So they're graduate level, but they're like right now the program's called coaching and leadership. So it's like a lot of my classes are focused on how coaching has changed. One of them is like my coaching style specifically. And then another one is like sport finance. So a lot of NIL, a lot of like managerial stuff. So kind of how, not really a coach, but how like I guess like a GM for, I don't know what the term is for college, but how a GM would look at things, and like what's the finances of all the sports stuff, and then going into that. So it's pretty simple stuff, but it's kind of different from what I've done before.
Well, sure, but it's kind of pretty interesting. It's got to be interesting. At least I find it interesting if you're talking about coaching and NIL stuff. Like it's. I mean, me working in the sports world, it's like I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool.
The coaching stuff is pretty standard. The finance changes pretty much every week. I mean, we had obviously the NIL thing just happened. There was I think it was this week, but there was a Supreme Court ruling about previous college players back to like 2016 I'm not going to go into the whole thing because it's a really long document. Basically, they're talking about paying athletes that were in college from 2016 until now a certain amount of money from they have a settlement or something. So there's a lot like you can
Like
go look at stuff, but that class
you're
changes.
talking like retroactively.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
you can find it online. It popped up on ESPN. I want to say
Yeah.
on Monday or Tuesday, but really recently. The case has been going on for a while, so but like stuff like that just like pops up every now and then because especially NIL is now changing college and college football specifically is crazy right now.
It's well, that's the thing. It's like you're talking when you're talking about moving, like you moved out of Washington, Illinois, straight to Minnesota. You finished. You moved in before you even graduated high school, or you graduated early. So you moved in at what? Were you even 18 at that point?
No, I was 17. It was I
That,
moved in I moved in January of 2019. I didn't turn 18 until April. So that was odd.
I remember that story, but it's the point is that you've got 18-year-old kids that are moving into colleges and getting some of them fairly hefty paychecks that have no idea on how to deal with that.
Yeah, and that's the NCAA hasn't addressed that yet, at least from what I understand. But a lot of universities are starting to do financial literacy just because you have. I mean, think about who's the Arch Manning for Texas. He got paid
Yeah.
a lot. I don't know how
Yeah.
much, but he got a lot before he even got there. You know, he wasn't playing yet. But when you're a young kid, I mean, that's a ton of money. Like that's more than a lot of people see in their lives. So
Oh,
understanding how to,
absolutely.
it's just, there's so much to go into it. So I do think a lot of colleges should adopt some kind of literacy or investment teaching, something to help kids because a lot of people just don't know. Like, hey, what am I doing?
Well, right. I mean, and Archie Manning is the 1%er, so that really doesn't
Yeah,
count.
that
But we're
one's
talking about like,
that's
yeah,
insane.
but
Still people are getting a lot of money.
but we're talking about, yeah, but we're talking about like even a kid that's just coming in, to, like you said, like a lineman who's not an Archie Manning, something like that. Is so a lot of them are still going to be getting $10,000-$20,000, something like that, and that might as well be $1 million to some of them. They don't know the difference,
Oh,
right?
as a college kid, I mean,
Yeah,
that's a lot of money. Really, what
it
do you have to worry
is.
about in college? Especially if you're a scholarship athlete, you're not paying for gas. I mean, rent, food, and then
Everything. It's already
if you
paid for. It's just
yeah.
yeah. Well,
So
it's a bunch of extra money to spend on things you don't need, which is how you get in trouble.
yeah, which that's where even the NFL that class that I was talking about, we went over the the rates of NFL players that go from having a ton of money to being bankrupt within I think it's 4 years being in the league is it's a very high percentage. So
Yeah.
that's scary. And those guys they're older and they NFL mandates classes like that. So that's where you see like people are going to get in trouble if they're not smart about it. So
Well, your football window, your window to make money on football is really short. Whether that's in college or
yeah,
in high school or in NFL at all, it's
yep.
real short.
hmm And that's why a lot of people were pushing for NIL and for
Yeah.
universities to help kids out, just because the NCAA, the university, TV makes a ton of money. I mean, billions of dollars, and the kids are, you don't get any of it. Yeah, you get free school, which is great, but if you're a star player, you're not getting compensated. So they wanted to help kids you're performing really well, and people want to see you on the field. Your university wants you there, so they want to help you out and get more money.
I I agree, and it's well leaning into what I do and what I talk about, and it there's definitely a mental aspect that goes with it as well. The second you start to be like, I'm getting paid to do this to perform, and
Yeah,
that's
it becomes. I think it becomes a lot more, not business-like, but it's a lot more professional. You're not.
It's transactional, right? It
Yeah.
just is.
Yep. You're not really a high school kid anymore where, oh, we're going to school. I'm going to go to practice after school and just kind of hang out. As in college, especially at like a big time university, you're thinking about football all the time. So it becomes a real big deal. And you're playing for coaches. Like, it's a coach's job. That's how they feed their family, things like that. So there is pressure, but um, you got to lean into it.
Well, and you could say it's a full-time job, but a full-time job would say it's a 40-hour a week thing, and it's more than that.
Yeah, it depends on. There's a lot of different things that go into it, but yeah, probably more than 40.
Yeah, I mean it's and vacation. Like, I know that you don't get a lot of time off. It's rigorous, and that's all part of it.
Yep.
But so, talking about that football window and getting to play, like, you are in your 6th year of college, but this is your first year at ISU.
Yes.
You spent the first 5 years at Minnesota, and just walk me. And I've been following that journey because I've coached you some and been paying attention. But I just walk me through that journey from Minnesota to deciding to go to ISU.
So, oh boy. Let's see.
How far back? Yeah.
Think of how far back do I got to go? You started coaching me 2020.
We started working right when you went to Minnesota. Right. I mean, it was real early on. I think maybe you've been there. I know it was maybe during your red shirt year. Maybe.
I think we started in 2020 because the first time we went was when you lived back close to Washington, because I went to your house.
Yep.
I got hurt during the spring ball of 2022. Tore my pec. I was out. I had surgery.
I don't think you do that. I don't think you do that story justice. You certainly, like, you ripped your pec off your chest while you were bench pressing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds that's a little bit more intense than just saying, "Oh, I tore my pec."
Well, yeah, but I want to get to the.
Oh, I don't know. I think
I tore my pec.
Look, if I tore my pec, away from my chest while I was benching, you were probably benching what, 350 pounds or something?
330.
330. I would insert that part of the story into that story every time. Just saying, I would.
Wow.
But you go ahead. I know you're more humble than I am, but go ahead.
I tore my pec. We worked through that a little bit, but during that time, that was when all the seniors left. Was that previous year, and then that upcoming season, that was where I was really. I had worked my way up. I was kind of the next guy up, and was in line. I got hurt. Couldn't practice all spring. Didn't really practice at the start of the fall camp. And I had to have a second surgery right before fall camp. I got an infection. I had to go in, clean it out. I was on antibiotics, so couldn't really perform to where I was. Understandable. I sat down and talked to the coaches. Hey, I'm here. I can tell you everything going on. I know what's happening. I can read the safeties, the coverage, whatever. But I can't move. I physically I'm not able to get there. So that year they went with a different player, trying to make the best situation out of a shitty situation. It sucks.
It was a dumpster fire at that point, right? I mean,
yeah. So that sucked. Was really rough. It's, if you've ever been hurt and away from a team, it's not a fun time, especially when you're there, but you can't do what you're able to. Coming into the next year, had a really good spring ball. I played next to a guy that we worked really well together. I thought we had really good chemistry, and we were going to be a really good duo on the offensive line. We got into fall camp and just kind of different things with the coaches. I wasn't what they were looking for. and they ultimately decided to go a different way. It's hard to hear, but it's just the way it is. It's cutthroat. So they got to pick a guy and go with him and stick with him. So they went with somebody else, and then kind of from there, just ending the season, I'm like, hey, I got one more year. I want to play. Entered the transfer portal. I had been recruited by Illinois State coming out of high school. My high school coach, Daryl Crouch, played here. We knew the head coach. He's been here for a while. Had people who could vouch for the O-line coach, came in, talked to him, sat down, met with a couple of the players, and then just kind of made a decision. And I've been here since January.
Yeah. So looking back at it, like I'm always interested in how people's mindset and their thinking on their journey, right? Does this feel like something like I should have just come out of high school, or is it like, no, this has been a good part of my journey, right? How do you look at that now?
I wish it would have worked out at Minnesota. There's a lot of guys up there. I'm still real close friends with almost everybody that I was buddies with up there. So I talk to them still throughout the week. I can text the guys that are on the team like, hey, good luck this weekend. I'm watching. So I still hang out with them. Obviously, I wish it worked. The timing of the injury really sucked. That's not something you can control. So kind of took it out of my hands there. And then I think it helped my development. Minnesota is a very run-heavy team. That's just the way that they're built. The
Right.
offensive line is real big guys. You got running backs who are maybe not the fastest guy, but if you hit them once, they're not always going to go down. So that was where I went. We really developed the run game, and I got really good at that. The pass game, I struggled with. That was where I always was working on that, trying to get that better. Coming here to Illinois State, this coach that I'm with now has done a great job with me. We sat down, we watch film, we go out on the field, we work on stuff. I've gotten so much better at pass pro here, and it's tremendous. So I took one thing from Minnesota, I learned it there, and I can come here and I can do this now. So I'm happy with where I'm at. I wish it would have worked up there, but you can't control everything. So it's give and take.
Injuries are, and you say you can't control everything. There's and I think that's, and I'm sure you remember that's something that we talk about a lot when we do the coaching, is just how little you can control in your situation. And it's not meant to be said in a way that makes it's disheartening. You're like, oh, I can't control anything. It's like, there's very little I can control, but if we can figure that out, the sooner you figure that out, the more it gives you more focus, because you're like, I can't worry about everything else. I can zero in on this.
Yeah. And if we talked when I was hurt, when you were coaching me, I would not have had the same perspective. I was not happy. I was pretty upset about it.
I know. Yeah.
It's not fun. Being hurt sucks. But going through it, it's part of it. And then, looking back now, I'm not happy I got hurt, but it's part of the journey. And mentally, I don't think I'd be where I'm at now without, getting hurt, going through it, sitting, watching other guys play. It's just part of developing.
So when you say that, where I'm at mentally, what do you mean by that? Like, where are you now mentally that you're like, how are you better from the things that you've overcome?
Just the focus, resiliency. I've been around a long time. 6 years of college football is a lot.
It's about the most you can do.
We had one kid do 7, and I think there's somebody right now in college football who's doing 8 or 9. He might be, I think it's Oregon, but that's the oldest I've ever heard. That's insane. Yeah, 6 is a long time, 6 years. But just the focus that I have, I know it's my last year of college. it's a different, I don't know, it's a different feel. It's not the same as being a senior in high school. It's definitely not the same as being a freshman in college. So there's a lot more, I guess, urgency. There's a lot more focus on I have to do my job every single game. It's this is my, when coaches say this is seniors, this is your year, this is my senior year. So it's just different.
And it's great that you're there, that you landed there, that you have that you're in that good headspace now as a senior. But like you started your first game in 6 years. Like this was when you played for ISU, you started the first game of the year. That was the first game you started football in how long?
Since November of 2018. So a little under 6 years. So
as a high school, obviously started there. You didn't start any of those 5 years, not one start. And then that's when you talk about, I've been doing college football for a long time. You've been grinding, trying to get where you wanted to be for a long time. Like it's commendable. And it's understandable it'd be understandable if you hadn't made it to this point. So I guess to say it's commendable, but what's your motivation? What kept driving you?
I love it. There's always parts of whatever you're going to do that you're not going to love. Like I hate conditioning. I'm not a fan. It just sucks. You're hot.
Shocker. That's shocker out of an offensive lineman that you hate the conditioning.
That's, parts of it are going to suck. But when I was at Minnesota, I had a really good group of guys. Every year we had a super tight group of O-linemen. We hung out with the tight ends a ton, and then everybody else kind of piled on. You had really a brotherhood. I have probably 3 or 4 of my closest friends are from Minnesota, so having guys like that, I might not be playing in the games, but I'm going out and I'm practicing. I'm there every day. Like I'm hanging out with my best friends. We're pretty much doing what we love. It's really just love of the game, and then getting to see them have success now while they're playing at Minnesota. I'm down here. I'm playing. Our team's doing well. It's just a lot of fun.
And it's easy. I think it's easy for you to say that now that you actually do get to play a little bit more and you start, but and that helps. But is that like if we asked that question a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, is it still the same answer? Like did you still enjoy it, even though you weren't getting the results you wanted?
I had fun in the practices. When I'm out on the field, I'm doing the plays. I'm running through stuff. When I'm actually playing on the field. The things that I got upset with and I was frustrated with was I got to a point where I felt that I was performing better than one of the guys that was playing. So that was where I got frustrated. The answer might have been different. I probably would have said I was frustrated then, but I still enjoyed when we were out there, when we have scrimmages or we were in practice doing the work, when we were actually playing football. I had fun doing that all the time. So there was never a time that I dreaded going to practice.
And that's a good answer right there. That tells me a lot. Even though you are frustrated, you can be frustrated with the situation. You can be frustrated with the uncontrollables. But if you're still enjoying the day to day and the grind, that's a good sign.
Yeah. It's hard to do it if you hated practice and you didn't like lifting and meetings and all. It would be miserable. But I got lucky. I had a great group of guys around me.
Parents, is your athlete ready for the upcoming sports season? They might have the strength, the speed, and the skills, but without confidence, they could still struggle when the game is online. Skill and strength are great. They're necessary, but they're not used to their full potential without the right mentality. Confidence is key. It's the key to unlocking that full potential. And at Mettle Coaching, I offer personalized sessions designed to build the confidence your athlete needs for a successful season. My proven techniques empower them to perform under pressure, both on the field and in life. Don't let a lack of confidence hold them back. Book a free session today and discover the power of confidence. Visit the website and get started on the journey to a more confident and successful athlete with Mettle Coaching. Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mettle Coaching.
I could lean on them. We could have fun out there on the field and just keep playing.
Yeah, and you mentioned that about having chemistry with the guys you play with, and me not knowing much about football and certainly not knowing much at all about offensive line. Like, they always talk about the chemistry of an offensive line and why that's so important. Like, you've been doing college football for 6 years now. What is that? What does that mean to the layman, to somebody who doesn't know much about it? Like, I just listen to NFL and listen to NCAA and they talk about it, but what does that mean from an offensive lineman?
I'd say in my mind, I have it in two different ways. So there's the guys that I want to hang out with outside of football. So, my real close buddies, my best friends that I want to be around, not just at football practice, games, whatever. And that is kind of, you build friendship, you build trust. You got guys who you want to perform better for when they're on the field next to you. So if one of my best friends is the tight end, and he was always next to me when we were playing. So we'd be out there on the field together, and I have that friendship off the field, and I know we're still going to be buddies off the field no matter what happens. But when you're on the field, you want to perform better for that friend, if that makes sense. You don't want to be.
It does.
You want to let them down, so to say. The other one.
It does. Go ahead.
The other one is more on the field. More than any other position, the offensive line has to be on the same page with every single person. That's just how it works. We separate things into concepts. So it depends on your offensive coordinator and your offense and how you guys do stuff, but you have different techniques and different ways to block defensive fronts. And each player does certain things differently. There's little technical differences. There's physical attributes for guys that are different that come out when they play. And you just kind of got to get used to how everybody does stuff. Coaches will tweak things when they can. There's certain things that, okay, this guy's really good at this block. We're going to try and lean into that and use his natural strength there to help the rest of the offense. But the guys right next to each other, so tackles working with their guards, the center's working with both of their guards. It's just knowing what the other guy next to you is going to do while you're on the field and not have to talk about it. If I can, that's where I got with my teammate at Minnesota in the spring ball, where I thought we were working really well. We didn't have to talk. We didn't really make calls because we could just look at each other, or we could look out at the defense and point, be like, all right, well, we know what's coming. I know what you're doing. I know what I'm doing. And you're on the same page really effortlessly. So that's where you get offensive lines that kind of skyrocket and carry offenses and really perform well. Is you have all 5 guys are like that, kind of just meshing together, and it's seamless. There's no friction. Not to say there's no problems, but you
No,
can
I got you.
very easily communicate and figure out what you have to do next to get there.
How does it? So I don't know if you have an answer to this, but this is what I'm trying to figure out: is how does a good coach, offensive line coach, and you're doing some coaching stuff now, so it's like it's good. How does a good coach facilitate that and like expedite that process to help? Are there things that help it develop faster, or things that mess it up also?
I'm sure there's answers for both. From my experience, the way that I tried to get it with my teammates is I wanted to be close with whoever I was playing next to off the field. So I hang out with my guards. That's just what I do. I like understanding how they think. So if I know how he thinks, I can anticipate what he sees on the field. So we see something on the field, and I know how my teammate thinks. I can anticipate what he's thinking, how he's going to react, and that will help me. Okay, well, he's going to do this. This is what I have to do, and we're good. We're working together there. I think the on the field stuff, you just have to play. You have to go through. You got to go through your spring ball. You got to go through fall camp. You got to go through the first 2, 3, 4 games of the season where you're working together, you're performing, you're trying to play well, but you're still kind of learning at that game speed.
Yeah.
It just comes together over time.
So, I mean, obviously time is probably the number one factor. It's a huge part of it, but it's also telling you that, like, whenever they was talking about these offensive linemen getting together and going like for these offensive lineman dinners, you guys are going out to eat and make sure you eat together and stuff like that. That stuff really matters.
I mean, it doesn't hurt. It definitely doesn't hurt. It's you got to have time away from the field too to kind of relax your mind a little bit, because when you're at football, you want to be locked in the whole time. You want to be really ready, and then every time that you're in practice, everything is heightened. You got to make sure you're on your assignment. Your foot has to be stepping in the right spot, your hand placement. So your mind is always working at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So when you can kind of chill and relax and decompress with those guys, and you're just hanging out, kind of not really, I got to get something out of this dinner or whatever. You're hanging out with the guys.
Right. Tell me a little bit about yeah. Tell me a little bit about the mentality it takes to have to be the kind of player that knows that the only way that your name is getting called is when you like make a mistake. Because that's it, right?
Kind of. I mean, if you make a really good block, if you flatten somebody, sure, they'll point it out. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I enjoy O-line just because I like hitting people.
I mean,
I don't know, when we have a running back who's breaking off 50-yard runs and he's untouched through a hole. If you watch film of me on the games, I'm jumping up and down, running around the field like a psycho. Like I don't really care. You don't have to say my name. I care if we win, and I care if we can run the ball well. Really, when we don't run the ball well, that's when I get kind of the most, I guess, cranky or frustrated. I don't like it, because it feels like we were beat. We were push back up front. We didn't have guys covering up other guys. So I enjoy when we can really run the ball and run it well on a team, especially if they game plan us and they're doing a lot of different stuff than what we saw on film, and we adjust to it. That's great. That's an awesome feeling.
And that kind of leads me to my next question is like, when you're talking about doing this as in college, or, you know, people that go into the pros and do stuff, you have to be you have to be pursuing your own goals and your own growth, but at the same time aligning that with a team, right? Like you got to be trying, you don't want to be selfish about it, but you are trying to get your own thing, right? And it's had it. You get where I'm coming from? Like, I don't know if those things like butt heads sometimes, or how do you do that at the same? How do you?
I think
Yeah.
For O linemen specifically, I think it's a little bit different, and I might be totally wrong here for all of the other O linemen. I don't know, but for me, I cannot make the offense go just me. I have to have the other four or five guys. If we bring in a tight end or an extra O line, I have to have the other guys. Otherwise, doesn't matter what I do. So personally, no, I don't think that the personal accolades or achievements, whatever you want to say, for O line, I don't think that is it. I mean, it's not a huge deal. Yeah, we want to win. I think everybody wants to win. It sucks to lose. Not fun. And we want to play well. But outside that, I mean, our goals are very offense specific, not personal, if that makes sense. You know, we want to have a certain amount of yards rushing. We want to protect our quarterback. Situational stuff. We want to win like third downs, stay out of third and long, things like that, where it's not really, oh, you know, I want to be the highest graded offensive lineman or whatever. I want to be, you know, whatever the award for the best O lineman. I don't even know what it is.
Well, when you talk about this and I hear them talk about grading it out, like it doesn't make any, like, I don't know how they grade that, but it's like, but is it like, if you grade out well, does that also mean that your team does well?
Most of the time, it doesn't have to. Like we lost to North Dakota State. I don't even remember the score right now. It's like 40-7 or something like that. So not a great game. But we had guys who personally graded out well. So you can have an individually good performance. And the people who do the grading is not inside the program. So they don't know 100% of our scheme, and they don't know all of our techniques and, you know, all the little stuff that we do. So there's a grade, but it's not the same as what your O-line coach is going to give you. Like, because obviously he knows the play, he knows your technique, he knows what we're trying to do. So that's different. But yeah, there's a outside organization that does all of that and has a database for, I think it's all of college football, but there's a lot of people who do it. Is that
a thing? Mostly, like, what's the purpose of that? Is it like NFL sponsored? Is that what they're looking for, to find the best lineman, or is it?
They look at it. I don't know how much stock they put into what the grades are saying, because obviously they're going to watch the film. They're not just going to be like, oh, hey, he got a high score. Let's try and get this guy without watching anything.
Sure.
I really couldn't tell you. My dad is into it.
I'll ask him sometime.
He likes looking at all that stuff, and he likes numbers and comparing things like that. So he's got spreadsheets of, I mean, every player on our team.
Of course he does.
Through and just, oh, well, your quarterback did this and this guy did this and you guys were over
That's
here.
awesome.
So he likes that stuff. I don't know how any of it works really. So
yeah. Oh, I've heard about the grading stuff, and I just don't know how that, like you said, and that's why I asked the question is like, how do you, like, is it focused on the grading or focused on what you're trying to do together? Because you want to reach your own individual goals, but also winning as well. And I think you answered the question as much as you can, right? And I was just curious about it.
I have no idea how the grading works because there's,
it seems,
like, we lose
seems to me like
you have guys who grade well. So I really don't know.
No, your answer is a good answer because it tells me where your mindset is, and it's like I don't really care. I'm just gonna go out there and do what I know I'm supposed to do and do my best, and whatever. Like if somebody wants to grade me, so be it. But I'm gonna try to win. So that, I mean, that's an answer in and of itself, there, JJ. Right? So
not that I don't care about the grades, but more that I care more about what my coach says because he actually knows
exactly.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
If he tells me I'm not doing something right, I'm obviously going to go try and fix it.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's on the horizon? What's your goals looking forward?
Win as many games as possible.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. We have our O-line goals, the stuff I was talking about. We want to rush for yards. We want to protect our quarterback. All of those things like that. Win is obviously always the number one goal. And then we'll go from there. I've never done playoffs before. We never made it to playoffs as Minnesota, and we didn't go to the Big Ten championship when I was there. So I want to make it to playoffs and see how that is. It's a little different, but it's exciting.
Yeah. And how about what about life after football, or when is that, or what's the goal after ISU?
I'm not even thinking about it right now, really.
That's good.
Parents bug me about it every once in a while, but I want to. This is my last year of football, maybe, so I want to do as well as possible. If I have a chance to go to the next level, I'd love to. I have no idea if that's even a possibility right now, so I'm just gonna try and play as best I can, and we'll see at the end of the season.
Well, then in that case, I withdraw the question because I love the answer. Right, the fact that you're playing present in the moment, don't change a thing of that. Right, that's fantastic. I think that everything you've learned up to this point is preparing you. If it's the next level, so be it. If it's not, for whatever you want to do, I feel like I feel like whatever you're going to do in your next level for a job after football, whenever that is, I feel like you're pretty prepared for it at this point.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I don't have ideas. I got stuff I could do if I feel like it. I just don't. I mean, I don't really care right now. It's not really. It's not a big concern. So
I agree.
I'm looking forward to games and to playing.
I love it. I love it. I think we all need to do a little bit more of that, of being a little bit more mindful and present and enjoy our present moment. I love the idea that you're finally getting a chance to play and contribute. And it's like, why rush out of that? Right. Why be in a hurry to have that end?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any final lessons you've picked up for anybody willing to listen?
I go back and watch the first episode that I did with you because very different mindset from then to now. This was not like an overnight change. It took years, so I was not always where I'm at right now. Everybody's got their different journeys, so.
I saw a video of you. I don't know why it popped up. I think somebody put it on after you got you were the Offensive Lineman of the Week, and it was Madsen or somebody was doing it, and I had a picture of you doing your signing, and I was like, and it's when you're talking about being a journey, I was like, he's a completely different human being, like physically, and now as you mentioned, mentally, and I very much appreciate that you say that it just takes time. Like not everybody grows mentally and emotionally, right? Not everybody does. Some people stay the same, don't change. They're always upset about stuff. They don't ever change. But if you are willing to change something like that and see different perspectives, it takes time to see the difference.
Yeah. And I hate looking at those videos because they're so, I mean, I think they're awkward.
Yeah.
But a lot of things, like it's completely different night and day where I was to where I am now.
It's a good place. It's a good place. If you can look back at it and say, I'm happy with where I'm at, it's fantastic. So did I miss anything, JJ? Anything I should have asked you that I shouldn't have?
Not that I can think of. Just a little upset.
All right.
You came to the game against Western Illinois and you guys didn't stick around to say hi.
I you know what? I'll make it to another one. We had some stuff going on, but we'll definitely we'll meet up soon, and I'll make up for it. How about that?
Awesome.
All right, and also that game was a little closer than you expected for a little bit. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah, a little bit. I don't even remember the score. I mean, that was
well. You ended up okay, but
we ended up all right.
It was
but
tight.
Yeah, we came out and had a couple where I remember sitting on the sideline, and I think it was maybe their first score, and we're going over our adjustments on the sideline. I look up and I was like, oh, they got down there. That was kind of quick.
That was quick.
Our defense came back and did a great job.
Yeah,
so we were fine there.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
That was good. It was good to see. I was thrilled to death to get up and see you play a game because I know it's been a long journey and just to be even a small little part of that made me happy to see it. So
yeah, appreciate it.
All right. Well, JJ, it's been a great conversation, and I appreciate you coming on again for the second time. And I thought you had I thought your journey to where you are now, and I knew that you'd be a little bit different and have a good mindset around it and just some perspective around it that I thought it would be a good story to tell. And I appreciate you coming on to tell about it.
Yeah, and I'll do it as many times as you want.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll see where the journey leads you next, and we'll go from there.
Can't wait.
All right. Thanks, JJ.
Yep, appreciate it.
Coaches, do you dream of guiding mentally tough athletes towards a championship? Kids that are resilient, persistent, and unshaken by setbacks. Well, in today's world, those athletes aren't born. They have to be developed. Many athletes face significant challenges and risk burnout. So how do we foster that mental toughness without overwhelming them? Well, introducing the Ember to Inferno program, Building Mentally Tough Athletes. This series is designed specifically for coaches, offering a deep dive into your own journey of mental toughness and equipping you with practical tools to build confidence and belief in your athletes. Rather than just simply adding more adversity to their life, we focus on creating a strong foundation for mental resilience. You'll learn how to transform a spark of motivation into a blazing fire of toughness using techniques that address challenges like social media pressures, athletic stress, and trauma. Don't just wish for mentally tough athletes, build them. Join the Ember to Inferno program today and ignite the potential in your athletes. For more information, contact me, Coach Thomann, at Mettle Coaching. Parents, is your athlete ready for the upcoming sports season? They might have the strength, the speed, and the skills, but without confidence, they could still struggle when the game is online. Skill and strength are great. They're necessary, but they're not used to their full potential without the right mentality. Confidence is key. It's the key to unlocking that full potential. And at Mettle Coaching, I offer personalized sessions designed to build the confidence your athlete needs for a successful season. My proven techniques empower them to perform under pressure, both on the field and in life. Don't let a lack of confidence hold them back. Book a free session today and discover the power of confidence. Visit the website and get started on the journey to a more confident and successful athlete with Mettle Coaching. And once again, just another interview, a great interview with a young man that I've coached that often also happens to play offensive line. Again, I said this last episode. I don't know how I keep getting it, but I've worked with like 6 different offensive linemen, and it's just a great position to talk about. They really understand the team concept, but they also have to put in so much individual work on getting better, getting stronger, getting faster. And actually working on that chemistry, like it's understanding that it's so much fun to talk to them, especially since there's a ton of humility in those guys because they don't, there's nothing to be not humble about. Like they don't get a lot of recognition, which is okay. I don't know if they like that or don't like it, but it's they don't get the headlines. They only get their name called out when they make a penalty usually. So they're really good guys to talk to, and I really enjoyed it. Some of the things with the interview with JJ that I think are, if you're listening to this and say, what do you get out of mental coaching, and because JJ is a former client. I haven't worked with him for a while, but it was good to see him. I could just see so many of the seeds that we planted early on that are bearing fruit now. His understanding of focusing in on what's controllable and what's not, and how that focus helps him become more resilient, because it gives us that focus on what you can do, and ignoring what you can't is huge, just absolutely huge for giving you this focused intentionality about what you need to do every day when you get up and keep working. Because as it mentioned in there, he was in his 6th year of college football before he ever got a start. That's a long time. And you can say these things about, hey, it's great that he's got a scholarship and great education, any NIL money, anything. I get, you can say all that. Yeah, but you're getting this. Yeah, but you're getting this. It's fine. Save it, right? Everybody wants to play. Everybody wants to get out there. Everybody wants to show what they can do. And up until this year, he just hasn't had that opportunity. Just injury, getting passed over, just some different situations. And you could hear it in his voice. And it was frustrating, but it didn't stop him from moving forward. And I asked him in there about his motivation. And he was pretty easy to explain that his motivation is he loves the sport and loves putting the work in and loves the grind. If you're looking into be a college athlete and moving on, I would say that you have to develop love for not the game. The game's easy to love. Of course, you're going to love the game. You have to learn to love the grind. You have to learn to love the practices. You need to learn to love the weight room sessions. That is what's going to break you down. That's what's going to make you want to quit. It's not the game. You have to learn to love the grind. He does. If you don't, I don't want you to say, oh, well, then it's not for me and I should just quit. Learning to love the grind is a mentality. It is something that I work on with athletes all the time. JJ had it pretty much in his, just from his upbringing and situation, things like that. By the time I ever worked with him, he had a pretty good understanding of loving the grind and enjoying putting the work in, and he did already. But it's something that we continue to develop because he got in some really tough spots with an injury and just a redshirt year and then a year of injury. And then just, even a year where he was back, but not really injury. He had a lot of recovery, a lot of work to do, a lot of things to learn. And we just kept working on that about keep enjoying the process. People, that whole idea of trust the process. People say that trust the process. I think it goes beyond that. You have to learn to love the process like the getting up and putting the work in. And if you don't, again, it's not the end of the road for you. It's a mentality that can be developed, and coaching can help you do that. Some of the mental coaching that I can do with you, if you are an athlete and you're like, I just don't enjoy the grind, you can develop that over time. We can use the way the coaching works is we can say, we find our A. Here's my A in a situation. I want to get to my B, and I help an athlete get from point A to point B. And if you don't enjoy the grind, you say, I just don't like practices, but I know I need to. That can be something we work on. It's not a quick fix. I have no magic wands here, but if we start working on how to develop a mindset around loving the grind, we can get there. We can, in a few months, we can make you enjoy working really hard, because you're going to need it. If you want to do, even in high school, if you want to be great in high school, and if you definitely want to play anything at any level in college and have success at it, you need to learn to love the grind to be anything like, if you have any hopes of doing it, like a guy like JJ, who sat 5 years and worked for 5 years before he ever got his opportunity to play, that is a long time to grind. You have to have that. It has to be something that you have. And it's buildable, it's creatable, it's something you can develop. You just have, if you are a young athlete, and parents, if you're seeing this with your young athlete and they just don't enjoy the grind, it's something that you should think about, how can I get them to love that? Not just say, hey, you need to love this. Like, there's ways to develop that through coaching, through some mental tools and things like that you can really do that. And I can help with that. I can give some advice. I can do some coaching to show you that. It's a really good, but you have to have it. And it's not just an athletic thing, right? So I have zero issues, zero worries about JJ when he quits playing football someday, whenever that is, and going into the real world. Like, I have no worries about him. A kid that comes out of like that and has put his heart and soul into something like that, as soon as he finds a job that he likes and loves and can do, he's going to be a phenomenal, successful employee, and he's going to be good at everything because he knows how to grind. He knows how to find the good in a situation and grind through it. And that's how he mentioned about his growth and how he is very much aware that he has grown so much in the last couple years, and how he sees it differently, and he understands what he was and what he is now mentally. And that's a great way to feel, to be able to look back and say, I've grown, I've gotten better. But it doesn't happen by accident. I could hear him talking about loving the grind and having focus on the controllables and just being resilient, and some of those things that he and I had talked on and things that he knows are important, and how he's worked on that. And now he can look back and see the growth, even the fact that he wanted it to work out at Minnesota, but he can now see that, hey, this was a good move for me overall, because I've learned to be better at pass protection. I wouldn't have got that at Minnesota. So he's be able to look back at a situation and say, I'm better because of this move. Things didn't work out the way I wanted, but I'm a better person for it. I talk about that all the time, is you need to be able to find things that happen to you and turn them into things that happen for you. And but you have to have a mindset to be able to do that. You have to have this growth mindset to be able to do that. And I just couldn't be prouder of him, to see the way he's handling the situation, being able to look back at his situation and see it's part of his journey. And I love that journey for him, and I hope it continues for him. Great kid. Another great offensive lineman to talk to, and really enjoyed it, and hopefully you did too. And if you didn't listen to me early, if you didn't hit pause and go like it, share it, make a comment on social media, do it now. It's the end of it. We're in. I got a minute left here, so just go ahead, and you don't have to listen to the end here. Just stop and go hit a like, hit a share, make a comment, suggest a guest. I'll take all of that. So once again, this has been the Mental Mettle Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Thomann, and always remember, forge your mettle. Thanks again for listening to the Mental Mettle Podcast, produced by Coraggio Media. Sponsored by QuickCut, a video management platform for every level of play. And by Mettle Coaching, helping athletes learn to face adversity in a spirited and resilient way. The Mettle podcast is created each week to help players develop more mental toughness, and that is something that will help all of us. So help me out and like and share the Mettle podcast with your friends. Until next time, keep forging your mettle.